Today we're going to revisit the congressional map in Alabama, and this video is significant because this is actually the very first video I put up on this channel more than 4 years ago, where I took a look at pretty much the same map. So in some sense, I came full circle, more than 1,500 videos. I could end the channel right now. But in between then and now, the map has undergone some changes. I'm not going to get into all the legal battles, but they did use a different map in the 24 election, and you can see here that the Supreme Court ruled 6-3. The state can go back to the previous map they used in 22. Now, Alabama already had their primary. There's even a runoff coming up on the 16th for a key Senate race. But they did not do the election for every House district. That's coming up on August 11th. So it gets confusing. There's a lot of passions about the map. Racial dynamics get talked about a lot, but I generally focus on the partisan lean that I can apply to every state when I review every map. And this should be the last map to review for the upcoming election. Could definitely be more after that, but this should be it hopefully for now. So first let's get into the map that was used in the 24 election. Now Alabama has 9 districts. Before this map, Republicans held 6 of them, Dems won. The last election though, it became a 5-2 map. The 2 districts that are blue here are the 7th and the 2nd. So just some real light geography here. A lot of the blue vote is in Birmingham. It's a major city, it's densely populated, but there's more out here in the rest of the 7th district. And that blue vote extends on the so-called Black Belt eastward through Montgomery here, and then all the way into Georgia. So this 2nd district, not extremely blue, but blue enough to where Dems are generally going to be able to hold it. So this map will have been used in just one election. If we look at the new map, which is the same as the old map, used in 22, don't really pay any attention to what's going on in the northern part of the state. It's pretty much all in this area here. And now more of the blue vote has been packed into the 7th district here, and the rest of it, especially around Montgomery, that's moved into the 2nd district. So we'll look a little closer at this map in a minute, but let's take a look at the Cook PVI rating of the map used in 24. So you can see the red districts here pretty red. We've got an R plus 27 in the 1st. The lightest red is the 5th at R plus 15. The 7th, which is mostly the Birmingham district, is D plus 13, and the 2nd, that's been rated as a D plus 5. So given that this map is done, this is kind of just a rental here for U.S. Rep. Shomari figures. So if Republicans were looking to take a partisan advantage, they would just have to shift some vote around to get rid of the D plus 5 and put it back into red territory. So not as hard as it might be to do in some other states, especially because it's only mildly to moderately blue to begin with. So here is that 2nd district held by Shomari figures. It's 51% urban. The median household income is about 55K. The racial makeup is 49% black, about 42% white, under 4% Hispanic. And if we take a look at the recent election results, before the map last time, very red. Barrymore won it with 69%. Dems put in about 29. The new map figures won it by about 9%. He's at about almost 55. So it went from deep red to blue, and it's probably going back to fairly red. If we look at the new Cook PVI rating, here it went from a D plus 5 to an R plus 7. That is the most competitive district. The 7th is at a D plus 10. The other Republican districts all pretty dark red. So Shomari figures looks like he's on the chopping block here. I guess he still is going to run, but he's going to face one of these Republican candidates. Now the prediction sites all think this is going to flip except for Inside Elections, which hasn't been updated here in the past year. So it would seem like at least a lean Republican flip here depending on how big a blue wave is, if not a likely or into double digits pickup. So how fair is this map? Well, I think a good starting place is to focus on the statewide partisan lean. For that, we'll go to the highest turnout of the most recent election. Trump at over 64% here, Harris at 34. So a 30-point margin, about a 2-to-1 ratio for the GOP. And you can see the county map here. Again, the 2 blue districts pretty much cover these counties. All the rest of the state pretty dark red. And if you look at the congressional breakdown, it pretty much reflects what we saw in the U.S. House. Now, one election isn't necessarily everything, but if we go back to 2020, Trump was at 62, Biden under 37. So a little narrower, but still overall pretty dark red. If we try to just isolate it to the U.S. House, in 24, Republicans had 73.7% of the vote, Dems at 25.3%. The problem with that total is not all districts had somebody running in them. It's actually Dems that had no candidate running in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, so that's going to skew the numbers in favor of the Republicans. If you go back to some previous elections, usually one side or the other has no candidate in one or more of these districts. So that's tough to do if you focus just on the statewide partisan lane for president. Then out of the 9 districts, the easiest reflection there would be to have 3 Democrats, 6 Republicans. That would be close to reflecting the statewide partisan lane. Though usually I expect one side or the other to take a little bit of an advantage. So if you think a 6-3 map would be too unfair, then certainly a 7-2 map would much better reflect the balance of the state. But there's also other things you could talk about, such as having competitive districts. So that takes us back onto the new map, again, pretty much the same as the old map. So here's the 7 districts, and if we toggle this and take a look at just the partisan lean of each district, and if we focus over here on the right, we've got the presidential 2024 vote. Now in the 2nd district, that's almost 57% Republican. So Dems would have to overcome that to be able to flip it, and that doesn't look like that's going to happen. And the 7th district, that one is 58% Democrat, so Republicans not going to compete there. All the other districts, very, very red, not really in contention. So let's look a little bit closer at this vote. Now, if we toggle this, we can actually look at the precinct level data. Some people get caught up in the racial dynamics. I don't really focus on that at all. I think both sides want to take that partisan advantage regardless of race. In this case, it does happen to overlap, but I'd rather focus on the partisan lean. That's going to apply to every state and to both sides. That should bring everybody to the table and agree that the gerrymandering has gotten out of control. But the other thing that could be a factor here is the geography. Now, sometimes you see blatant cracking of major cities to clearly dilute the vote. It's not necessarily what's happening here. Birmingham has a ton of blue vote, and it's mostly just packed into one district. Now, as for the less densely populated blue vote, most of that does get packed into the rest of the 7th. Now, if we zoom in here, you've got the city of Montgomery. That's going to be the big population of the 2nd district. Again, if you toggle this map here, the blue vote in that city is not obviously cracked. Now, the city's population is about 200K, so the focus is going to be on the rest of that district. And you can see it does capture some of the less populated blue areas that the 7th did not, but then it picks up a ton of this red vote down south. So there's enough red vote down here that it kind of cancels out the blue vote in the northern part of the district. Again, it's not extremely overwhelming, but there's enough here to flip it and pick it up. And in the map in the last election, remember that 2nd district captured this blue vote, and it also picked up some of the rest here in the 7th. So it kind of traded some of the blue vote here for some of the red vote down here. It's changes like that that can make all the difference. So where does that leave us? How fair is this map? Well, a 6-to-1 map based on the partisan lean is not going to be fair. It does go back to the map that was previously used, so this is not a brand new extreme gerrymander. However, as we saw after the 2020 census, we saw a bunch of states that did have pretty terrible gerrymanders, and that was already back then. It had nothing to do with the current round. So Dems could get a second or at least a competitive district here, and it wouldn't really shake the geography too much. Going to a 4-to-3 map might be a little bit too far. Again, I'll give each side a little bit of leeway when it comes to taking somewhat of an advantage. If Alabama goes to a 7-to-0 map, obviously that would be totally egregious. I don't think it's impossible that we'll see that in the future. We saw it in Tennessee, we could see it in Louisiana, and Republicans are really trying to max out their vote here, especially in the South. Dems have had plenty of terrible maps for a long time. They might come back next year as well and try to squeeze more vote out of their states as well. It's terrible, it's ugly, there's no good way out of it. You gotta have both sides come together and agree that they don't want to see their political party totally eliminated from each state. I think everybody agrees these maps are bad, but agreeing on the details of a solution, that's gonna be the tricky part. For now, this is the review of the latest. It's fun to go back and review the map I did in my very first video. But let me know in the comments, what do you think about this map? We've seen it before, but how unfair do you think it is? How about the geography? Should it be a 5-to-2 map? Do you think a 4-to-3 map would be going too far? And do you think Republicans are going to go to a 7-to-0 map in the future? Let me know what you think down below on your way out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.